Hi, my name's Danny Carroll. I'm the author of the book Terminal Cancer is a Misdiagnosis. Today, as part of the global GNM celebrations of Dr. Richard Halmer's 87th birthday even, today I'm interviewing Dr. Melissa Sell. Dr. Melissa Sell is a chiropractor by profession. I will be interviewing Dr. Sell today to share her experiences of learning the medical discoveries of Dr. Richard Halmer, and I look forward to a fun and interesting conversation. Hi, Melissa. How are you?
Hi, Danny. I'm great. And I'm so excited for this interview and for this celebration. I think that this is so brilliant. World GNM Day for spreading the word and getting it out there to more and more people.
Yeah, absolutely. Very exciting. What an extraordinary human being, Dr. Halmer, and an absolute pleasure to be celebrating his birthday and to be celebrating it with you. So, Melissa, you're a chiropractor.
Yes.
Why did you end up discovering and falling into the beautiful world of Germanic New Medicine or Germanisch Heilkunde?
I feel like it found me. I had been in practice for 5 years. Chiropractic is a very interesting profession and has deep philosophical roots, which is really what turned me on to the profession and to the work. And the founders of that line of study, they talked a lot about innate intelligence. And so there was a lot of books, volumes upon volumes written about innate intelligence. And so I had a deep understanding that the body is wise, the body knows how to heal, the body knows what it's doing. The body is ancient, it's been here way longer than we have, and our educated minds don't fully understand what the body is doing and misinterpret symptoms. We misinterpret what these symptoms mean, and we assume that they're wrong. And that's, conventional medicine obviously assumes that the body's just a dumb meat suit making mistakes, making extra cells. And so I had a deep understanding that that's not the case and that the body does what it does for specific reasons. And so I felt primed and kind of ready for Dr. Halmer's discoveries, because even within the world of chiropractic and the work that I was doing, I became a bit disenchanted practicing for 5 years, teaching nutrition and detoxification and exercise and kind of whole lifestyle wellness. Yet still, even in that model, I would see mentors, people who are like following everything to a T. They're doing all the right things. Yet still, we'd have people with cancer diagnoses and heart attacks out of nowhere. And it was like, I felt kind of confused.
I'm missing something.
A little dismayed that I thought I was teaching the truth about health, yet I saw a lot of inconsistencies, which I think primed me to stumble across Dr. Halmer's work. Randomly, I was listening to a podcast one day, and it wasn't even about GNM. It wasn't even about Dr. Halmer's work. It was the author of the book, The Magnesium Miracle. She was being interviewed, and I was listening to that interview. The interviewer asked her about cancer. She very briefly just said the words German New Medicine and moved on in the interview. And I was like, what is this? I've never heard of this. And so I was ready to hear it. It got sprinkled in my mind at that moment. And then as soon as I read the story, I was like, Dr. Halmer's story, it all made sense. I was I loved embryology when I was in chiropractic school. So the embryology stuff blew my mind and really drew me in. And then I couldn't stop. I just couldn't stop studying. I couldn't stop seeing it everywhere. And it changed everything for me.
I've been like you. I mean, I'm about 20 years into the study of our human form, and I've done all of the nutritional healing and emotional healing. But the problem I had with those modalities, similar to you, was that you could have two people, same diagnosis, give the same treatment protocols, and one lives and one dies, and you're like, why did that happen? But there were never any answers, right? I was always questioning, and I could always, it wasn't satisfactory to me to have two people in the same situation, one live, one die, and not find out why. I had a cathartic healing experience in 2012, where for 6 months I had golf ball size knots in my entire body. I was with my then girlfriend, now wife, and she's a diplomat, and she was leaving India, and we were planning to terminate our relationship. But the problem is we were soulmates. The night before, a week before she was leaving, we sat down and we decided not to terminate our relationship. And the next morning, poof, all the knots just disappeared, right? And they've been there for 6 months. I knew that there was some relationship between the mind and the body, and I'd gone through that cathartic healing experience, and I was looking for, I was going to do a PhD. I was looking for a university that had a medical practice and a psychology practice, and I was sort of planning to build a bridge between them. I found Dr. Halmer when I was looking for that university, and it was, I was looking for university, and up popped Germany medicine, and you see over the internet, right? Crazy Nazi doctor murders people, and luckily I'd been down the alternative healing rabbit hole long enough to know that the more noise there is around a particular modality, the more value that it generally has. So when I saw all of this crazy doctor, I thought, oh, that looks very interesting. And that's exactly what I'm looking for. And that's how I ended up also finding Dr. Halmer.
And so I knew even before I found GNM that there was a profound impact, that trauma changes the way you see the world. It changes the way that you see yourself. And then, with the map of, the compass of GNM and the biological laws, I was able to see, like a self-devaluation. You have this experience of shocking, I'm not enough. I'm not good enough, fast enough, smart enough, strong enough. You have that shock, that moment in time. It changed your perception. It changed your lenses. And I was teaching this prior to even understanding how our bodies were involved in it. And so when I found it, everything clicked into place that, by looking at the trauma, looking at the shock and how the shock changed you, not just on a surface, psychological level, but at a deep biological level, you changed, and you're now seeing the world through the lens of being broken, being not a good partner, and you're seeing yourself consistently in this way. Your body's consistently adapting, and the language of adaptation really makes sense to me too, that, our body's constantly adapting for our survival. And again, the body doesn't make mistakes. But if I'm sending messages to my body outside of my awareness, I'm not aware that every single time I feel bad about my physical pain because I can't do the things I want to do in my life, it just made perfect sense that, you're going to keep beating yourself up until you have that moment where you realize, I have to change how I'm responding to this symptom, to that past event. I need to transform either my environment, maybe I need to leave a situation. And the practical resolutions became very natural. As far as teaching other people, I really teach people the things that I have found work in my own body, because once I saw acne was like my very first experience with like seeing GNM in action, and it blew my mind, and I loved it so much because I was convinced for years that acne, first I thought it was just bacteria on my skin, and so I did all of the skin care. I would rubbing alcohol on my face to kill all the bacteria, and I thought that would do it. That didn't fix it.
My wife used to use bleach. I mean, some beauty product that was bleach, right? But it destroyed all the pillowcases, everything.
Yes, I did. I had that. The Proactive destroyed pillowcases, clothes. Intense stuff, with the idea of killing all the bacteria on my skin. And then I evolved into, it's nutrition. I need to stop dairy. I need to stop all these foods. Then it was, I have to heal my gut. I have to eat sauerkraut. I need to take probiotics. And even at every stage, I would be doing all the right things in that model, but I would still get breakouts. And so it was just demoralizing. And you stop, you really learn to like not trust your body. You feel like your body just is going to turn on you. I've got an event to go to. I've got a date I'm going to go on, going to a wedding. There's a breakout. And you start to kind of resent your body, even though when you understand GNM, when you get the 5 biological laws, when you see the feeling attacked or feeling soil conflict, all the light bulbs come on. It's like, of course this can happen, even if I'm eating a perfect diet, even if I've had sauerkraut every day for the last 5 years and, probiotic, it doesn't matter if I feel attacked or feel soiled. So that for me was like, it blew my mind wide open. And I think that's the thing about this work is it's all personal experience. And so when I teach people, I simply teach them from my personal experience. I say, this is what Dr. Halmer has found about the body. It's your opportunity now to observe yourself and see, how does this actually work? Make those connections, because I think that's how we bring this work to the masses, is people getting curious about their own body, about, why does my body do what it does? And is it possible for me to make connections and actually see how this is coming from experiences I'm having? And so that's why, it just became a natural progression. And part of my, I guess my personality archetype is to bring big ideas to people before they're ready for them, is to kind of share ideas with the world, in advance of it being, generally accepted, which again, that's why I feel like I think this work visits you when you're ready for it. And it came into my life at a time when I was ready for it, and it made perfect sense to me. And so it just was natural for me to share that on a wider scale.
Let me share a couple of examples of the last 2 weeks, right? So I went a couple of weeks ago, I went and had my hair cut, right? And in India, when you get your hair cut, you get head massage, and you get all the whole 9 yards thrown in for like very little money, right? So you're like, okay, yeah, head massage. So the masseur basically, I was massaging my face, undoing my eyebrows here, and it's a couple of hours after my haircut, I start to get a boil on the side of my nose here, and I'm like, nah, come on. Are you telling me that my nose has taken it as an attack on my face because of the hairdresser giving me like a face massage? And I said to myself, I wonder if this boil has come because of my face massage, because my masseur went in like this. And then 2 hours later, gone. A couple of days later, I'm having a shave, right? And a couple of hours after I have a shave, I start getting an acne spot here. And I'm like, has my face taken it as an attack because I had a shave? And then the pimple starts coming up, and I'm like, yeah, it's because I had a shave, right? And then 2 hours later, pimple's gone down. I mean, it's just like, it's so weird, right?
It is.
Crazy.
And it's undeniable when you see it, and like you said, can this be, is this how my body took it? It took it as my shaving as an attack, or, my dog would lick my face, or if my dog would like scratch my face. Just the other day, unexpectedly, I came home, my dog was very excited. He scratched my face, and I got a breakout right here. And it was like, it very much felt like an attack, and I was caught off guard. I wasn't expecting it. And, when you see it happen again and again, and that's one of the things I love so much about Dr. Halmer and his dedication to his work, was that, just the proving of these laws, that there's never an exception. They're consistent, they are reliable, which is the only scientific thing that we have as far as, everything in medicine. It's all statistics. It's all, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. We don't know why, but his work, specific, scientific, anything that can't happen reproducibly, it's thrown out because we can't call it a law.
When was the first time you consciously used Dr. Hammer's discoveries to affect a disease or a biological issue that you were facing?
It was the acne thing. It was the acne thing for sure, because I had to unlearn. I had so many patterns of fearing food. I feared food. I feared touching my face. I had all sorts of weird superstitions and paranoias because I had built this model of, oh, this causes acne, inflammatory oils and these types of foods, and not having. And so that was my very first time of seeing it. I had to see myself get a huge pimple and I made a video about it because I was like, you guys, this is crazy. This is why this happened. And it had nothing to do with food, and it had nothing to do with supplements, and it had nothing to do with bacteria on my skin. It had everything to do with the feeling of being attacked or feeling soiled. And so that was, for me, so transformative. Not long after that, I had an experience of eating. I was at a family gathering and I was eating meatballs. Well, I wasn't eating them. They were given to me, and I took a bite and I swallowed it, and I really didn't like the texture, and I wanted to spit it out. But instead of spitting it out, I swallowed I swallowed them almost whole. And afterwards, I had a terrible sore throat. And I realized, I was like, oh my goodness, my body, I cannot swallow this conflict. And so I felt the swelling. I had a very scratchy, raspy voice. My throat got swollen. I was coughing. I went through the whole progression of symptoms, realizing it was that moment of, I cannot swallow this. And so, having my eyes open, another revelation of the work and practice was having my right shoulder hurt after an argument with my partner, of seeing the self-devaluation. And that's where I love this work so much, where it's such a mirror. It's such a revelation of where you need to do work, of what's really going on. How am I perceiving this? And since I've realized so many of them, I have been able to transform the experience where, my shoulder, if I'm in an argument, I know what it feels like to devalue, what it feels like to just have a conversation. And there's such a distinction, and it's a nuanced, this work is so very nuanced because everybody's so different. How we perceive things, the messages being sent, like, being caught off guard. We have to take all of those elements into consideration when learning ourselves. And so the tools that I teach to people really are about self-awareness, because I have to pay attention to me. Like, the idea of it is one thing, but how it actually operates in my body, in my psyche, in my experience is a very different thing.
So we're talking shoulders, right? I've had a very challenging COVID experience. My wife's a US diplomat, right? So she's under federal regulations, mandates, and all of that stuff, right? I've obviously done a lot of research into the COVID injections and all of that stuff, and I'd developed a sufficient fear of those injections, and my wife was effectively being forced to take them, right? I ended up with left arm injection site periosteum pain, 20 on 10 pain right here.
That's wild.
Okay, it's been an interesting challenge because obviously practical resolution to the problem would be, okay, don't take any more injections, right? Unfortunately, that's a very difficult practical resolution to the problem because she's a federal employee, and when they say roll your sleeve up, they have no choice, right? Either they have to take the shot or lose their job. I managed through various means of mental jugglery to downgrade it from initially from 20 on 10 pain, mind-blowing, impossible pain levels. I got it initially down to like 4 on 10 pain, and then I did some more work and I managed to get it down to like 1 or 2 on 10 pain, and now I've got it to a point where I have the strength is coming back in my arm and the pain is 99% gone, and I've got a little bit of limitation of movement where I don't quite have the range of movement in that shoulder that I had before, but I've almost solved the problem. But I had basically periosteum pain in my shoulder for about 3 or 4 months.
Wow, that's wild. And so many people as a result, I mean, the cascade of how specifically, like how interesting that's how specifically it manifested for you. Other people dealing with a very similar, struggle of partner has to get it.
Yeah.
Constraints, the practical resolution isn't really accessible, but how the person perceives that, what they develop as a result of that, whether it's a stink conflict or can't swallow or self-devaluation or water retention, so many possibilities. And that's I love this work so much because it does take into account the unique individual, where nothing in medicine takes into account the unique individual and how I perceive it and how my psyche, why I am the way that I am. It really helps a person to get in tune that it's even if it doesn't happen this way for anybody else, you're the one that matters, and you're the one that becomes your own doctor when you understand. And like you had to work through it. You had to find within yourself, what's it going to take for me to be more at peace with this, to feel less like this so intense. 20 out of that's intense. That mirrors the intensity of that conflict.
The conflict was very intense. I mean, I was I mean, she had to take the jabs and the boosters and all of that stuff, right? I mean, the only saving grace that helped me to resolve the problem is that I have a suspicion that they reserved all of the saline shots for the federal government employees because none of them had any symptoms whatsoever, right? So no post-injection traumas and stuff like that. So I have a sneaking suspicion that Uncle Sam is looking after his own. Yeah, just a guess, right? And I mean, we don't know what's in each vial, right? But that's my guess. Like you, I've gone down. I turned vegan for 5 years when I was down the nutritional healing rabbit hole. Ended up making myself lactose intolerant. Any milk or milk product used to just destroy me. I mean, literally destroy me. I'd be in a bathroom for maybe 2 or 3 hours after I mean, the first time my wife, I had dinner at my wife's house, she made some mashed potato. And this is when I was vegan, right? And she put like 1 teaspoon of milk in the potato, apparently. And I wasn't aware of this. And then on our first date night at her house, I spent 3 hours in her toilet.
Oh dear.
because she'd put milk into the mashed potato without telling me, right? But then after I discovered Dr. Halmer, I was able to then switch off the lactose intolerance, right? So now the lactose intolerance is just part of my learning journey and part of history, which is absolutely fascinating. Share some experiences, Melissa, of your experience of using.
I made a little presentation with some photos because it's good, I think, to see the photos on this one. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so this is a recent case of a separation conflict, and this person was experiencing psoriasis. So this is her story. 45-year-old, right dominant female. And so her conflict was wanting to separate and also fear of being separated. So that's the psoriasis is the layered of both a conflict that's active and then one that's resolved. And so she had been wanting to separate from her husband for years. And finally, the divorce came in September of 2021. So she started having a major flare-up of symptoms. So the divorce obviously brought, a resolution to this desire to separate from her spouse, but it brought up a huge new separation conflict of fear of having her child go with the ex, because that's obviously something that you have to do when you're divorcing. The child has to go with the other parent for some period of time. And so she was absolutely, terrified of letting him go with the ex because of the personal history there. So she was really, really struggling. And these were her symptoms in January of this year. So from September to January, she had this major, major psoriasis between her breasts and on her belly button, and it wasn't going away. She was still struggling with it despite trying a lot of different things. These are actually some of the interventions she tried. All the sunlight, the nutrition, the supplements, lymph massage. At some point she got so kind of fed up with it that she tried the Humira for a little bit, but then threw it out and went to, naturopath and all the good things, and all of these things are very supportive and helpful, but the psoriasis persisted. And so we started to identify what's keeping this alive, because the conflict has to be reactivated. This was a hanging healing. She's in and out. And so some of the things that we determined were her tracks and triggers were text messages from the ex, any kind of upcoming interactions that were going to take place. They'd have to go to family therapy sessions. Anytime the child had a visit, major fears. So they hadn't established overnight visits yet, but she was so afraid of these overnight visits, and the location of in between the breasts and the belly button make perfect sense because it's her baby, her child.
It's a baby.
That's the contact point. And really the first time she ever had any psoriasis on her belly button was during her pregnancy. And so obviously the theme there was huge with this, her baby. So she had dreams about the ex, her reactions to the condition of the skin. She really didn't think it was going to get any better. Could go away.
Yeah, and that's bad as well, right? That must be, I mean, the irritation of that would be extraordinary, right?
Yeah. And so there were a lot of tracks, a lot of
Yeah.
reminders. We're constantly ripping off the scab, not giving this a chance to heal. And so the separation, she was stuck in it.
Mm.
We started working together in January, understanding the biological program, seeing what's the meaning of this, because every biological program is deeply meaningful and it's there to help us. And the symptoms,
Yeah.
the numbing of the skin, the body's trying to help you to numb the fear of deeply understanding
Yeah.
the biological meaning of it. She started to transform her relationship to the conflict, because like the situation you mentioned, you can't get out of it. You can't get out of visits with the ex. This is a legal thing. This is, despite you could want it
Yeah.
all you want, but she still was going to have to let her child go with the ex. And so she started to change her relationship to it. She started to practice daily awareness exercises, noticing her reactions to a text message. So if the text message just from him could, spark this whole thing
Bang.
all over again,
Yeah.
she had to downgrade. She had to transform this relationship, maintaining focus on her ideal outcomes, even regardless of the reality of the situation. She had to see it going her way, of her child being fine. She was afraid that her child
Yeah.
would be traumatized at these visits. It's like, okay, well, sure,
Yeah.
that's a possibility, but focusing on that possibility is intensifying your experience of him needing to go. So you could, he's going to go one way or the other, and you can either imagine constantly how bad it is, or
Yeah.
an ideal outcome, see it going well, see it being
Yeah.
a positive interaction. She started trusting things that were, that things were working out for her. She stopped letting fear control her, because that fear, that worst case scenario, kept dragging her back into the conflict again and again. She maintained all of her healthy lifestyle habits to support her healing, and she just started really focusing on her reactions and what she could do, rather than what she couldn't do. The things that your hands are tied about, that is intensifying this separation, of this loss of this, someone you want to hold close. And so she did that consistently. We started working together, like I said, in January, and this is her photo as of April.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Look at that. The skin, the belly button. And she was very delighted with this outcome. And like I said, she didn't think it was going to go away because of how bad it had gotten. So this was one of the case I wanted to share, because it's just so real. It's just such a human experience that so many people go through, and they try everything, and they're on steroids for years. I recently worked with someone who was, on steroids just constantly for years, and didn't realize that the steroids were harmful. It's like, oh, well, if the doctor prescribes it, how could it be harmful to be on steroids for years? And people just, it's when we're disempowered, when we don't know why our body is doing what it's doing, when we think we can just cover it up by taking some type of medication, what we're doing is just further putting the body into adaptation, and the body's going to have to heal. When you come off of those steroids, the body still has to, heal and repair. But being able to understand why my body is doing what it's doing, that's the freedom. And so that's, Dr. Halmer has given us such a gift, such an incredible gift.
Amazing.
Because people can actually become sovereign. We can actually become free. If you don't know why your body does what it does, you can't ever be free. You're always going to be subject to somebody else out there who's going to tell you something about what your body is doing, and you're going to be willing to buy whatever they're selling, because the human just wants relief from their experience, from the symptom. But this is the keys to the kingdom, which is so incredible.
Yeah. No, I've had eczema on a couple of occasions that I've had to deal with. This is again one of my first early conflicts that I had to learn to solve. I used to get eczema between my fingers here. Okay, and the cause of it, basically, my then girlfriend, now wife, who I met when she was posted to Bombay to serve, which is where I live. Her second posting was in Santiago de Chile. Okay, so 10,000 miles from where I live, which was probably the world record for the long distance relationship ever. And when she first left, I used to get eczema between my fingers here, and basically it was caused by the fact that when we hold hands like this. So every time sort of wheels down in Chile for like the first 6 or 7 months or so, and as soon as it's wheels down, then it's like it's scratching, and it's actually scratching between your fingers is actually really difficult, right?
Yeah.
So I had to basically let my stubble grow so I could use my stubble to scratch between my fingers like this, right?
That's ingenious. That's clever.
But ultimately, I learned to switch off the itching, right? As soon as I consciously connected the cause of the problem to the symptoms of the problem, then for the most part I could switch it off. And what I learned after we had a distance relationship for about a year, I started to enjoy the distance relationship. I enjoyed the time that I had in India on my own, and I enjoyed the time that I had with my wife, then girlfriend. I enjoyed both. So I stopped missing her, not missing her, but the desperate separation conflict that triggers these type of problems. I resolved that conflict by starting to enjoy the idea of spending time together and spending time apart. And that's ultimately now our marriage, because she lives at the moment in Belgium and I live in India, right? So but yeah, I ended up resolving it after about 9 or 10 months by enjoying the process of a dual destination relationship, basically. So that, yeah, and I've had these tons of these problems. Yeah, but it's strange. I quite look forward to getting these problems so that I can get the opportunity to work out how to solve them, right?
That's so funny. I feel the same way. Anytime anything pops up, I'm kind of delighted. It's like, oh, how
Yeah, I
interesting.
know. That's weird, right? It's really weird. Come on, you have to admit it.
We're weird like that,
We're weird like that. Yeah.
People who study GNM, they're like, that we want, because I want to see how did my body perceive that. Oh, that's interesting that particular, recently I had a little bit of an eye twitch, and I realized that it had to do with, I needed to keep my eyes open because I have a dog in heat and a dog that is of age. And
Oops.
so, and as soon as I realized that, I was like, oh no. And there was a moment of shock where my partner, I didn't know where he was, and I didn't know, but I heard a noise and I was like, oh, I didn't have my eye on it. I didn't have my eye open. And so I, in the aftermath, I developed a twitch, like a spasm in the muscle. And that, has to do with, you got to have your eyes open at the right moment to see the thing you need to see. And I was like, oh, of course. I mean, that makes perfect sense that I would experience it in that way.
It's crazy, right? But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can't say I look forward to getting sick, but in some ways I do, right? Because for the most part, you can work out exactly what caused it, and you can resolve it in like no time, right? I mean, you're not stuck with the symptoms for weeks and months together. And I mean, for many years, I mean, I have chronic bad back, lower back issues, or I've had for decades, right? So I've spent weeks and months laying down on my floor because it's the only place I could lay, working basically from my floor on a laptop, because I couldn't get off the floor, and I had to be near enough to the bathroom to be able to just crawl to the bathroom, right? Because I couldn't otherwise get to the bathroom. And now whenever I experience a bad back problem, for the most part, with exceptions, for the most part, within 15 minutes, bang, I can just switch it off and the pain's completely gone. As soon as I wake up in the morning, got a bad back, I'm like, okay, what central self-worth conflict did I resolve yesterday? And then I have to go through yesterday and find out, okay, what happened? And bang, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, pain gone. And it's like, wow, so amazing. Yeah, I just love it.
Yeah, one of my favorite ones was was a while back, but it was like, it was a financial issue. And it was, I was holding on to water, and I could tell like my clothes weren't fitting. And I was, there was this huge worry. And I actually got night sweats. So I resolved the conflict. I realized what it was about. I kind of made the connections, resolved the conflict. I had night sweats, and I had to get up to pee multiple times that night. And the next day I felt like I had lost like 5 pounds, 6 pounds of all the water weight. And I was like, oh, this one, I had never, that was the first time connecting like night sweats. And it was such a delight to have the night sweats, because it's, an indication things are working.
One learning I went through last year, which was really mind-blowing. In 2019, I had a problem where I got cancer in my jaw, and all my teeth fell out, and it basically destroyed my jaw. And it was a particularly difficult problem to solve, because it was like a 5-second argument with my wife. And this particular endodermal germ layer in the jaw, you don't experience pain for 5-6 days until after the conflict has started. So getting back to it was just like finding a needle in a haystack. Anyway, I found it in the end, and I managed to switch off that program. And I then, because of the TB microbacteria, to remove that tumor on the jaw, basically I had the taste and smell of rotting flesh for 3 months, which wasn't a lot of fun. having TB microbacteria in your mouth with rotting flesh is not perfect. I mean, it solved the problem. But after I had a 5-hour surgery. All of these teeth are false, right? All of these here, these are all the new teeth. I had to have a bone graft on my jaw, implants put in. I had like 35 stitches, 5-hour surgery to rebuild my jaw and have my teeth put back in, right? And I took a painkiller at the surgery, right? So they said once the anesthetic starts wearing off, you're going to have a sledgehammer on the side of your face. And then when I got home, I took one more painkiller. I took 2 painkillers. I had a friend with me. He bought 100 painkillers for me to take, right? Thinking I'd be taking 5 or 6 a day. Next morning, I woke up and I thought, right, okay, let me see if I can switch off this pain. Okay. Now, I'd switched off pain from emotional trauma 100 times, right? But I'd never switched off pain for physical trauma. Dental surgery, right? It's physical trauma. So I was sitting there and thinking, right, how can I switch off this pain so I don't have to take any painkillers, right? I hate taking tablets and anything, right? So I'm sitting there, right, okay, what is the purpose of pain? Okay, the purpose of pain is to stop you from using something so that it has the time, space, and energy to heal, right? So I thought, right, okay, I wonder if I tell my subconscious, like I had no teeth anyway, right? So I'm not going to use it, right? Because I had no teeth. I couldn't use it because there are no teeth to use, right? So I'm laying there and I've got the thumping on the side of my face. And I said to myself, right, okay, subconscious mind, I know that the pain in my jaw is designed to stop me using this so that it has the time, space, and energy to heal. I'm not going to use my jaw. Please switch off the pain. Gone. And what happened, you start eating, right? And all of us, accidentally a piece of food goes from here and it goes over here, and all of a sudden you go, boom, ba-dum, ba-dum. You've broken the agreement, right? I mean, of not using that part of your body so that it can heal, and all of a sudden you're using it, right? So then the pain gets triggered on again. So I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. I know I broke the deal. Okay, we'll go back to the old deal. I promise I won't use this again. Switch the pain off. Bang.
Amazing.
And I had a 5-hour surgery, bone graft, 35 stitches in my jaw. On the day of the surgery, I took 2 painkillers and I didn't take a single pain. And not only did I not take a single painkiller, I had no pain. And whenever it just started to pulsate and come back up again, then I just switched it off again. And I slept for 3 weeks. I slept for 20 hours a day.
Wow.
Just let it heal naturally. Just slept and slept and slept and slept. Got up, went to the bathroom, had a bite to eat, went back to sleep again for 3 weeks. 2 painkillers on a 5-hour surgery with 35 stitches and no pain. I mean, it was just extraordinary. Isn't that amazing? I'd never done it to physical pain before.
Mm, And that's the thing, is when you're in tune though with the biological meaning and the purpose and why it's happening, you can be so in tune with your subconscious mind, with your biology, that it's like with the pimple. It's like, oh, I recognize, I understand why this is there, and it'll go down. It doesn't have to persist. And it's the
Yeah.
that awareness and that knowledge and that
Gone.
self-knowledge to be your own doctor. I mean, it's no wonder that this information is not more widespread. I was so blown away when I learned this, because I'm like,
Yeah, me too.
why have I never heard of this before? Not even a whisper. I've been, and I went to chiropractic school. I've been in health circles for a decade, not a word. And so that's why I'm so glad that this event is taking place, and that, it's really growing and gaining traction, because I think that's the future. This is the key. This is the ancient wisdom that's always been this way. And it's only a matter of time before everybody catches on that this is how the body works. But obviously, like when you can control pain like that, it's like the people who sell the pills, they're like, well, don't you want 40 pills? Don't you want a bottle of this to take? And maybe you'll get hooked on it. Who knows?
Yeah. So what do you think needs to happen for more people to start to get it? I mean, it took me 10 years of looking. It took me 10 years of looking to find this. And I'm not talking about stumble on it. I'm saying it took me 10 years of studying every damn healing modality, emotional healing, spiritual healing, energy healing, nutritional healing, every damn thing, right? It took me 10 years to find this body of knowledge, looking for it. So what, in your opinion, what needs to happen in order to expose this to more people, so more people get the joy and the magic of finding this body of knowledge, which is just truly extraordinary?
I think we're in the midst of it. And I think that, everything that's happened over the last 2.5 years, and that everyone's kind of primed for it. And I think it's more what we're doing, making waves, getting it out there. I know that you did an interview with Andy Locke Mears, and she and I worked together with our organization, GHK Global, because, we just want to get it out there. And we have an Australia branch with Nellie Barnett. We're talking about it. We do a summit every single year with all of our members to teaching health myths is going to be our summit this year, and all of the myths that people believe about health. And we're going to be reframing it from the GHK perspective, so people can start to see. And so I think it's just constantly talking about it in new and fresh and different ways. So I tweet about it sometimes, and I get, the people on Twitter are not quite ready for GHK.
Oh yes. Yes.
I got some major hate on there recently for posting about, I've recently been, part of our organization. Andy and I have been working with Helmut Pilhar, and he has a whole library of courses. He worked directly with Dr. Halmer and was his official lecturer. And so all of his courses from German are being translated into English. And then our organization is helping to edit the English translations and get them out there. And I was studying one about ovarian cancer and ovarian cysts and tumors, and Helmut described it as a gift from nature. And I just love,
it's amazing, right?
I love that phrase of a gift from nature. And so I tweeted, an ovarian cyst is a gift from nature to make you more attractive and more fertile. And
20 years younger than your age, right?
And a prostate enlargement is a gift from nature to make you more potent after you've been degraded as a man. And tumors are meaningful adaptations. They are not mistakes. And people were absolutely enraged about it. And I think some journalist is out there writing an article about it. But I'm like, please try to write an article about tumors being a gift from nature, and about how crazy that sounds. Oh, what a lunatic she is for even saying something like that. I put stuff like that out there just to make waves, just to get people, looking into it. Oh, and obviously the Wikipedia page does turn some people away, but some people aren't going to turn away. Some people are going to see the crazy tweet from the quack doctor on the internet and they're going to find it. And so that's why I don't mind taking, taking a few hits, taking a few arrows from the mindless masses who aren't ready for it, because the people who are ready for it, who are ready for something that makes sense. And I think that curiosity of just people paying attention. I put this test out to people all the time. So even if you think that you're not totally on board with GNM, GHK, you're just like, oh no, I don't believe in that. That's fine. You don't have to believe in it. But just the next time you have a sore throat or a pimple or a headache, just look at what's been going on in your life. That's all you need to do. You can test it. And that's the coolest thing about this, is it's an experiential science that people can test and validate and verify on their own person, in their own. You don't have to tell a soul, but you'll know. And that's the thing, it's you will know when you see that connection, when you know that you've been waking up at night with this unresolved problem, and then boom, it resolves, and then you see something happen in your body. It will be unmistakable. And so I think we just keep talking about it. I think this event is incredible, and thank you to the people who have organized it, because the more videos on the internet and people out there talking about it, I think it's just a matter of time before, and it has to be grassroots. I think that people have to see it for themselves. Because from the top down, we know it's not going to come from the top down. We know it's not going to get, verified and validated by the powers that be. That's not how it's going to happen. It's going to happen through the sovereign individual taking personal responsibility, wanting to understand how their body works. And I think so many people these days, because of the, uncertain times and the stuff going on in the world, they're very interested in sovereignty. They're very interested in being self-reliable. And as long as you don't know, what causes illness, you can't fully be sovereign and self-reliable. And only when you find this map and you study it and you understand it and you start to see it in your children and teach your children, this is how our body works. This is why we get a fever. This is why we get a headache. This is why we have a runny nose. There's always, this is why you have a stuffed up ear. Teaching the children, that's the future. You can't dismantle it. You just have to raise a new generation with the wisdom that you want to build, because, what's built right now, it's a huge monument. And the only way is by starting fresh with a new generation.
Yeah. I strongly advise people to remain skeptical about this knowledge until they have personal experience. You cannot have conviction in anything until you've experienced it for yourself. So, when I went through my journey of studying and learning to, I number one, I question everything. Number two, I believe nothing. Okay, and I retain that position until I have personal experience of seeing the benefit from a process and understanding how it works, and then my conviction builds over time. For example, I spent many years down the nutritional healing rabbit hole, right? And I saw certain benefits from that, but there were also certain problems with it. But there were too many unanswered questions, right? As I said, you can have same protocol, one client lives and one dies, and there were never any answers why. So I never committed myself. I never had complete conviction in any other modality, because there were always too many unanswered questions, right? So even when I was learning Dr. Halmer's medical discoveries, my conviction builds over time, right? Okay, you have one problem, you learn to solve it. Great. That's that's the start of building conviction, right? But for me, I probably had to solve 20 problems using this modality in order to get to a point where I'm like, this is it, right? This is the real deal. And I recommend other people to follow the same, right? If you discover this video or other videos or content on this subject, treat it as interesting and remain skeptical. But start the process of learning to solve your problems in life using, the greatest gift that Dr. Halmer has given us basically is to give us the cause of every disease known on this earth, right? And when you understand the cause of a problem, then you have a chance of solving it, right? Maybe still you can't always solve it, but you have a chance of solving it. If you're dealing with symptoms all the time, you're gonna be like a hamster on a wheel, right? You're going around, around, around. You're just solving the problem. Until you can attack the cause of the problem, you will never be able to solve it. And that, for me, that's Dr. Halmer's greatest gift, is helping us to connect what's going on in our life, the cause of the problem, with the symptoms of the problem. Then you have a chance of being able to solve that problem. And extraordinary.
It is, and that brings such peace, that freedom from fear, the quintessence of
Wow.
understanding that it's all meaningful, that it's not, your body is not attacking you. That's one of my, that I love to share that with people, because, to live in a body and to feel as though my body is turned on me, my body hates me, my body's attacking me, that is such a terrible disservice to, your organism wants you to survive. Your body,
Yeah.
like, is your only, it is paying attention to you constantly, helping you to live. And to think that it's turned on you or isn't against you in any way is such a, you're like a prisoner in your own physical organism, when really this body is brilliant and it is trying to help you. And by understanding its language, it really is, it's just we're lost in translation. We're not understanding the language of the body. We're thinking it's attacking us, but by understanding it brings such peace. And that fear, being the number one driver of all illness, is that fear, the diagnosis, even just feeling a lump. What does this mean? You go on WebMD, already you're down the rabbit hole of fear. But when this takes hold, people will find a lump or experience, a tumor or something, and they'll say, oh, this is a gift from nature. It's like, I had a conflict, my body has adapted, this is here for a reason. It's not convenient. No one's saying it's convenient, but it causes you to slow down and look at your life in a different way and to learn something. And so rather than just brush it over and cut it out, it's like, what can I learn from this? It is such a tool for personal evolution and creating more peace and harmony in your life.
Yeah. I mean, I can from my personal experience, living in a place where you have no fear, not only do you have no fear of disease, but you understand the biological purpose of what's happening to you at any point in time. I mean, it's just such an amazing place, right? I mean, amazing.
Yeah,
Extraordinary.
It's nature. And that, it's like Dr. Halmer was in tune enough with nature to see this ancient wisdom, come forth. And nature's always speaking to us. We were birthed from nature. We came from nature, and that, I love that in the ontogenetic system of, like, look at how we developed. Look at the development of the organism. Look at the development over time. It all makes sense. It's all organized. Nothing is random here. And when you get that this is wise, this is orderly, it's mathematical, and we look at the deep mathematics of nature, and we see this mathematical thing happen again and again in the biological laws and the song, and it's amazing. And I'm just so grateful to Dr. Halmer for being a vessel for this wisdom to come forth, and so excited that I had the opportunity to stumble across it, because I could still be out there not knowing it. It would be very easy if I didn't hear that podcast, if I didn't hear those 3 words, and there wasn't something in me that said, hey, hold the phone, what is that? I could still be teaching nutrition and doing it the old way, and doing the alternative health thing, which, again, it's good and it does help people to eat healthy, but it doesn't get to the ultimate cause. I believe that this is the most accurate and scientific understanding of the human body to date. And so, as far as I'm concerned, this is where it's at.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure being able to spend some time and talk to you and to listen to your experiences. Thanks, Dr. Varghese, who has set up Global GNM in India, who set up this celebration for Dr. Halmer's 87th birthday. I mean, he's an extraordinary man. And I'm incredibly grateful for him for setting up this celebration of this extraordinary man, Dr. Ricky Halmer. It's been an absolute pleasure meeting you, Melissa, and I'm very grateful for you contributing your time and sharing your experience with us to celebrate Dr. Halmer's birthday. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you. It's been an honor. It's been so fun to chat with you. Hopefully I'll get to meet Dr. Varghese sometime. But yes, thank you for putting this event on. And thank you, Dr. Halmer. Happy birthday. We are
Happy birthday, Dr. Halmer. We love you. God bless you.